and pals. So, Chuck, we got to go over some plateaus and our strategies that we're going to use to handle when we're hitting plateaus. And more importantly, we've got an awesome resource for you guys in the description. It's going to be a PDF that talks about mindset and actionable steps that you can take when you're finding yourself at a plateau, whether it's your weight or just any kind of really goal setting and goals in general.
Yeah. So plateaus, Mike, let's talk plateaus and how we kind of get over the plateau. So one of the things that, I find that a lot of clients recently are asking the question is, once I hit that plateau, what do I do to get over it? And we're constantly going on, and a lot of clients are constantly looking at the scale, and that drives me crazy that they're looking at the scale all the time, rather than looking at that body composition. And one of the things that we need to be mindful of is the fact that when we start to progress and get closer to what our goal is, our body composition changes, and we have to adjust our caloric intake and our macronutrients based upon what's been happening over the time to try to hit that ultimate goal. And if we're not adjusting our caloric intake and our macronutrients over the course of where we are, we're never going to really be able to hit over that plateau to get us to the next phase. So that's why I don't like to have clients like I have clients that every 3 days are hopping on the scale, and it drives me crazy. I like to every 2 weeks get a body composition in and kind of gauge where we're at. Because if we're lifting heavy amounts of weights, we're going to be packing on more muscle mass. We know muscle weighs more than fat. So if we go to look on the scale and we're like, oh man, my goal was to drop 5 pounds, but I gained like a pound or two. Why is that? Let's dig into that. Let's look at what our lean body mass is, what our body fat percentage is versus what the number is on the scale.
Oh, you already know what I'm going to say, Chuck.
100%.
Exactly. But it's so true. And there's like even more I kind of want to unpack there. Another one of my favorite expressions. We're going to unpack some shit. And with that being said, so whether we look at the weighing routine and the schedule, and there's like some really big entities and organizations, I'm not going to say who, and like I think they're great quality organizations, rhymes with broom. And with that being said, like day-to-day weigh-ins is one of the things that they use, but it's backed by peer-reviewed research. And I think one of the interesting components is when you look at BMI change and some things that can happen plateau-wise, it doesn't consider body composition. It doesn't consider what's happening with lean mass, the impact. And this is the analogy I always make, is the more lean mass you have, the more really calories in your basal metabolic rates are usually going to be, unless unless you gain like a lot of fat and just that strain on your body would be burning more calories when you have to move. If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Well, that also boils down to, if like all these fad diets that are out there, people will go on these fad diets and they'll try certain things and they'll switch over their system. And they could be, I'm going to have a keto diet, but they don't know how to adjust their carbohydrates. So they're having high fat, high carbohydrates. Now, all of a sudden you start to pack on more fat versus stripping weight off. Something like that could definitely add to what you're talking about.
And yeah, I wanted to just touch to that point of it because of the weigh-in schedule, and just the other piece to it to consider is, how long it can take food to digest and process through your system. And being even with the only reason I bring that up too is because the day-to-day weigh-ins is one of the things that gets me nuts, because maybe from a coaching perspective, I've had to deal with certain clients that are weighing themselves every day because of certain research studies and kind of things that are backing that, which I get for an effective part. But the downside from the psychological part of it as well is you kind of can become obsessed, right? It can start to create an unhealthy relationship and behavior pattern potentially. And when you eat, let's say we eat on a Sunday dinner, we're having a heavier meal, even if it's calorically friendly, the actual density of the food can change what you see on the scale the next day. And it can take up to 48 hours for your body to process, excrete, and get out what you ate on that Sunday, for example.
Right. And that's where, if we're constantly getting on the scale and we're not cognizant of how our body is digesting, if we're getting on the scale every single day, we're not seeing the numbers fall where we want it to, we're going to get into that mental phase of just being defeated. And then the next thing you know, you're going to be like, I've tried, and nothing is working. So screw it. I'm going to go back to the way I was before because I'm not happy with things. And you just defeated the entire purpose. So we don't want to be on the scale every single day. And that's why I like to say every 2 weeks we'll get a body composition versus the number that's on the scale.
And then even to just dial that in, that's where I think it's interesting to when we can talk about goal setting, breaking down off of that. Well, now I don't know what to do. If I'm not looking at the scale, how am I going to measure success? And we can dig into from a goal setting perspective. But even just being able to say, hey, if you're, let's say, not hitting the weight 3 days in a row, 4 days in a row, that can feel really overwhelming and taxing and feel like you're at a plateau, when realistically over 5 days is not enough time to give you an accurate representation of what's your body responding to. I mean, slightly, but not really, right? That's why 2 weeks, having at least a full week. So being able to spread those weigh-ins out, the body compositions, more importantly, you're actually going to not necessarily feel like you're at a plateau. And that's where I wanted to kind of help and get your thoughts on how we kind of define a plateau here. When I think of it, and that's one thing I will say from certain, organizations, I do like this idea of like 2 to 3 weeks is really kind of like a minimum, a window or a standard. We want to say like, all right, now we might be having to consider we're at a plateau. We're either at a fixed weight and we have to make adjustments there, or something has to change.
Yeah, I like to go with the 3 to 4 week method right there, because again, it could take up to 12 to 14 days for a body to respond to the different caloric intakes that you're having. Your body's going to take a little time to shift and get used to the new digestion, or get used to the new macronutrients you're doing. So you may not see a shift in what you're seeing over 2 weeks. It could take up to 3 weeks for your body to really respond to being on a new type of program. Or again, when you're going through the program, if you're adjusting your caloric intake based upon your body composition, it's going to take about a week or two, again, for your body to shift into that, to dial it in. So, if we're stuck at let's say a weight for 3 to 4 weeks, and we haven't really seen, any progress, that's when we have to look again to dialing in what we need to tweak in the program to how to overcome that. It really needs to be that 3 to 4 week, I haven't moved. We can't look at the 1 or 2 week period because it's too early within the program. Within 3 to 4 weeks of being stuck at the same weight, that's when we really need to dial in and to kind of look at it. So that's where me personally, where I would say that we're getting stuck on a plateau, that time period.
And I like just the mindset and approach about that. And that's, I think, so important too, is not to just give, hey, these predetermined windows, but the philosophy why. And that's why we even do things like this. And even why I think the podcast is so helpful and important. And always curious to hear you guys. Again, let us know in the comments if you want to hear different topics or how to build on this. But even with that being said, looking at body composition as well, right? Not just weight, being able to use body composition, because let's say the weight stays the same, but actually I see my body fat percentage going down, or there's, a fluctuation within that range, which is possible depending on what we're doing, what our protocol, what our focus is, and how you're recovering. So I think that's also, to your point, the two week body composition check is also really helpful.
Right. And you look, we're not asking everybody to be, pros on how to read body composition. It could be that you get on a scale and you're seeing your weight, the total weight go up, but your body fat percentage go down. That's going to be attributed to your lean body mass going up. You're putting on lean body mass, so your weight is going to go up, but my body fat percentage is going down. That's great. That's what we want to see. And ultimately it matches. It depends on what your goal is too. Right. If you want to lose body fat percentage, if you don't want to be putting on a lot of lean muscle mass, things need to shift and change for that. That's the reason we have a sliding scale of how much protein people should be eating. Those are macronutrients. How much protein, how much carbs, how much fat should be eating. If we want to go into a caloric deficit, these are things that we need to look at when a body composition combined with what your actual goal is. And that's why being honest with your coach comes into play too. You got to be honest with yourself, and you have to be honest with your coach as to what my overall goal is. I can't put in my mind and tell my coach, hey, Mike, you as my coach, I want to reduce my body fat and I want to pack on a lot of lean muscle. And then when I see the scale or things shift in a area that I really wasn't happy with, maybe I didn't want to pack on all that muscle, but I didn't tell my coach, so then you're unhappy and you're not getting a product that you ultimately think you want, and you're going to take it out on your coach or yourself. So be honest with yourself and be honest with your coach as to what your overall goal is. I'm ranting again.
I Love it though. These are all relevant things. And this is where it even ties in really nicely to what, again, this PDF resource I'm talking about. I'm even going to screen share here in a bit because I want you guys to be able to see a little bit about some of the aspects of even this idea of a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. We've talked about it in different podcasts, so I won't go in just exclusively that, but how we apply this to when you might be at a plateau, because I think you touched on an interesting point, Chuck, from being able to be honest with yourself. I think that's an important kind of capture of a growth mindset. First and foremost is to not tie, oh, I'm defined by the outcome. There's nothing I can really do to change it if it doesn't work out. I tried, right? But I failed. It must be the program. It must be everything else. It must not be me or any variation of what I can control. So with that being said, I'm going to get a little screen share going. We're going to experiment with something new here, y'all. Let's see how it goes.
Let's screen share it. One other thing I'd like to touch on too is if we're plateaued and we're stuck at a weight for like 3 to 4 weeks, and then all of a sudden we make some minor tweaks and we only see a half a pound come off after like the 3rd or 4th week, guess what? You've gone over your plateau. It may only be a half pound, but you still got over that plateau. Now we need to address and we need to look at how we did it and continue the program.
Bingo. So this is like where we can tie into a little bit about that fixed mindset and a person with a fixed mindset and some of the things they might say. And just looking at, again, what your beliefs are. That like, I believe that my X, Y, or Z, name the characteristic, is inherent and static. There's nothing you can do to control it, basically. So it's a fixed thing, and that's hence fixed mindset. So then if we shift over to even a growth mindset, there's an opportunity.
That fixed mindset guy does not look happy.
Right? Like, look at him. He's like, you don't want to be like
he's sad. He's just very sad.
So maybe it's an unfair stereotype too, but I think there's, a connection.
Kind of sad.
Look, she's happy.
She's happy.
It's all about that growth mindset. And that's also, again, looking at this plateau. And this is why I wanted to share this, is there's an opportunity to be had. There's potential here. True potential is unknown and unknowable. So I think, again, going to the plateau, and this is where I'm going to stop the screen share. And again, if you guys want even like more of that, that's the resource you can find in the description below. Just throw in your email. We'll send it out and share with you guys. And being able to just take that and saying, hey, this plateau, if I'm being honest with myself and I'm seeing the data objectively, it's not moving. I have to now look at the choices that I'm making. And it's okay if there's mistakes being made or if there's something I can change. Like for most of us, it's probably like myself included, sleep is going to be one of those things that is going to have to be addressed.
Listen, overall, anything is possible. Anything is possible. And that's that growth mindset. If we put our mind to it, we can really accomplish anything. It's the level of commitment that we need to put into that work that's going to get us there. Now, and like what Mike was just saying, we can make healthy food choices all we want, right? But then we go off on a tangent and we throw ice cream into the mix. Is that going to get us to our ultimate goal? No. We may have to make some sacrifices along the way and be very dedicated and strict with our diet in order to hit our ultimate goal. Now, there's ways to go about it. We can adjust that goal to adjust and be more beneficial to our lifestyle. If we don't want to get super aggressive with our goal, if we want to spread our goal out over a longer time, we can add in some cheat meals here and there. We also have to look at recovery. The amount of work that you put in to your ultimate goal, we could get you shredded within, 8 weeks. If you really dedicate and put your mind to it and are very strict with your diet and are very strict with your workouts, you can get shredded within 8 weeks. But if you don't want to put that level of commitment and that amount of work in to getting there, that 8 weeks could turn into 12 weeks or could turn into 16 weeks. It depends on what your level of commitment is and what that growth mindset is.
And that's why I think also being, to your point, Chuck, like maintaining this balanced awareness to what do you really want? Is it then once you get there, is it going to be something you want to maintain from a lifestyle? And then that changes the approach even a little bit. Is it something, for example, maybe we have an event, or if it's for an athlete, there's like a key event, or just from an individual, like aesthetics perspective, like, hey, we're summertime, right? We want to get shredded. We want to look good on the beach. We want to, whatever. There's a wedding, there's an event. We want to look good for that.
Vacation, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm gearing up to go on my 15-year wedding anniversary coming up in July. So over the past month, I've been very strict, eating very clean, just did that liver detox. I'm down 6 pounds from last week. So the next 2 months before I go on my trip, I'm going to stay, again, very clean with my eating habits. I haven't had a cheat meal or a dessert or anything in over a month. I really do want one, but I'm not going to do it until I go away on vacation. So my goal is to ultimately be as shredded as possible before I go away on vacation. And then guess what? When I'm on vacation, oh yeah, man, I'm going to have some desserts. I'm going to enjoy all that hard work and dedication that I put into getting to where I want to look good, being beach ready, being vacation ready. And when I get to the vacation, I'm going to enjoy it. And then when I come back, I'm going to then reset again, and I'm going to do it all over again.
And that's, again, it speaks to that balance that you found for yourself. And that's why I think experience is really important as well. And being able to figure out, going back to the plateau piece of it, is when we do acknowledge we're at that plateau, or we know what a plateau can look like for us, and being able to figure out, even that's what I like with the 28-day nutrition part of it is, and with our like nutrition protocols, is figuring out, is it 100% to the adherence that I have to stick to progressively see results? Is it 90%? Is it 80%? Is it less? Is it more? How can I rotate those things and be able to see, like, I know at 80%, I'm maintaining. I'm not losing any body composition, but I'm not necessarily gaining. I can even put on a little bit of muscle. So body fat will come down slowly over time, but there's even a tendency to gain some fat with that as well. So that's just me. Yeah. So I say that to be able to figure out that plateau. So now let's say we got the plateau, Chuck, right? We know it. We have our growth mindset. We're ready to take action. Now
we got over it, right? So we've now got that growth mindset. We've accomplished, we've gotten over our plateau. Now we need to reset again. We've gotten past the plateau mark. Now we need to work with our coach and look at it again to say, okay, I ultimately got over that hump, but now what's my next goal? Now let's adjust to get to that next goal. And it's not only diet that we're talking about here. This could come into training as well. So we could do this with training. If I've got a specific goal to hit, like on a bench press or a squat or a deadlift, and I'm just not getting there. And we also have to look at just not diet, but training. And when we look at this, overtraining is a big component of it.
Sleep.
Or also on the nutrition side. If I'm combining my training and nutrition and I'm stuck getting to a plateau, could be that we're overtraining and we have to pull back that curtain a little bit and kind of relax and recover more before we go into a more intense training. But if we've gotten over the bump of plateauing, if we've gotten past that sticking point, now we have to reset and adjust again. It's all about little, we've heard this term, micro.
Don't say it, Chuck. Don't say it.
Micro adjustments. I hate that friggin' term, micro adjustment. But it's true. Story. It's true. These little adjustments that we do over time have a big impact in our overall plan of nutrition and strength training, or just regular training, whatever it is. These little adjustments that we take to get over these plateaus have a giant impact in hitting where we need to be for our marks.
So I want to pause there. We're going to rewind because that's one now route that we can take it. Now let's go back and explore. It's going to be like a pick your own journey kind of book. Do you remember Goosebumps? You could pick, go to this chapter.
Go here, go there. Yeah.
So now here's the window where we're going to go to. Now let's say we try to make an adjustment, or we realize we're at a plateau. What do I do now? What are some things that I can try? I figured maybe we'll go through a few scenarios, one or two, maybe, because we're kind of like, I don't want to go too lengthy here. So maybe we'll start with
some scenarios.
Because here's the common one, right? The common one is, I'm going to paint, and this is one I've done many times over, is, hey, so I have no problem training. Nutrition can be on point, but when I'm not sleeping, and because of you put in the reason why someone's not sleeping, whether it's school, whether it's kids, whether it's stress, whether it's work, whether it's whatever, sleep's going to be a variable. Then when we're underslept, and let's say we turn to overtraining to compensate for our poor nutritional choices. I do that all the time, even still, and I know better, but I still do it. So we go to those, all right, I'm going to just work harder, make up for the calorie difference, but then I'm still not addressing the sleep concern, and I'm not getting enough sleep. And then it's just compounding until weight's on, stress. Boom,
now you're overtired, your cortisol levels off. So it's going to be even more difficult for you to actually fall asleep and get a relaxing
circadian rhythm.
So, yeah. So what do? We have to look at our supplements, our what are we taking to kind of calm our system down? Just even some, tea, some tea at night to switch our system over. We talked about box breathing earlier. Let's throw some magnesium into our system. There's so many different things that we can do to try to help us. CBD oil. CBD oil is great. I take CBD oil sometimes before I go to sleep because I suffer from insomnia all the time. It knocks me out completely. But there's so many different things that we can look at that's going to be beneficial for you to then switch your system over. The big thing is for me, and what I like to preach to a lot of clients, is meditation, mindfulness. If we just stop and shake everything off of us and just listen, I don't care. You find somewhere, a closet or somewhere in your house that you can go hide and get away from your kids and drop your cell phone. Don't take your cell phone with you. Just decompress completely. Take 5 to 10 minutes to just breathe and get out of your own head. You're going to start to feel a lot better and you'll have a more restful sleep. You'll recover better. Listen, put your electronic device down, turn it off. Don't even look at it before you go to bed.
But one more of this, Chuck.
Mike,
one
you
more
stop
that.
it. You stop it, Mike.
I just got to do one more email. One more.
Yeah,
I just remembered my calendar. I should add this to it. I have a note. I just got a great idea.
That's a big component in recovery and sleeping well.
What do you think about a journal next to the bed? That's one thing I do find to be effective.
Journal next to the bed is
slacking,
good.
Though.
As a matter of fact, one of my training partners the other day said he puts his phone next to his bed all the time, and every night wakes up at 3:00 in the morning, and the first thing he does is checks his email or picks up his phone and checks his email, and then he can't get back to sleep until like 5:30 in the morning, and then he gets up miserable because he gets up at like 6:30 in the morning. That's not a restful sleep. Turn the freaking phone off. One of the other training partners said, dude, you got to take your phone and put it in another room. Don't even bring it next to your bed. These are big components in getting a restful sleep. So we have to concentrate on recovery. It's a big, big thing.
I think you touched on such a strong point there. I got to say 1,000% is where I work in the 1,000%.
I didn't know the 1,000% was coming. I was going to say 100%.
So, and that's like, again, being able to just make some space, like even if it just starts at getting it out of arm's length. And that's where like, I know, and these are things I've tried for myself and I've done, but then sometimes I just put myself in a position where you go back to, again, this behavior pattern. And that's why I think it's also registering, hey, when you hit a plateau, it's an opportunity to get another rep. Just like when we do jujitsu, Muay Thai, and name the skill you have to get reps in. No one just starts being perfect. So I think even with behavior change, you're usually not going to just get it perfect on the first attempt at changing the behavior. Right.
Like look at yoga. You go into something like yoga and you're trying to hit these poses and you don't hit them on the first. The first time I did yoga, I almost threw up all over myself. Take a refrigerator box, put them in a hot room and try to get them to do yoga. And
Figure it out.
And they're going to do well. But things like that, exactly. You're not going to get it on the first time. There's going to be multiple things that you're going to try. And listen, I preach all this stuff, but I fall victim to doing it too. I'll wake up at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I look over at my nightstand and there's my phone looking at me going, yeah, pick me up. You want to pick me up. Don't do it. But there's a lot of things. TV in a room. You put your TV on. If you're watching TV at night in your room while you're laying in bed, put a timer on, to get the TV to shut off. Because if you fall asleep and that TV is on, it's going to wake you up. And then it's going to be more difficult for you to fall asleep again. This all goes into the recovery chain, which if you're not recovering, it's going to affect your overall training and nutrition along the way. And ultimately, you're going to plateau.
So what do you think about this, Chuck? I have a proposal for anyone that has a TV in their room doing one of 3 things. So one, just get rid of it altogether. Just get it out of the room. Don't even have it in there. Don't even have it be an option. That's been actually, believe it or not, even though I complain about sleep, the percentages of me having better nights of sleep are, I think, largely due to that one thing. And then obviously the other things that when I line them up and get it right, it's good. But just get it out, whether it's like just put it in another room of the house. That's option 1. Option 2, if you want to be nice and charity driven, give it away to someone that could potentially use it. Option 3, sell it and then use that money to invest in your health, whether it's trying a different type of food, doing some meal prep investment, like what's those companies that'll like just drop off the ingredients, like make it as easy as possible for you name whatever thing. There you go. Exactly. So that you can say, hey, I can at least try this and invest to help with that behavior pattern or that maybe get a massage or something. I don't know, self-care act.
I think it's a great idea. Personally, I have a TV in my room, and I'm not going to do any of those three.
It's like, that's not happening.
It's not happening. Like, again, there comes into play, like I have anxiety. And the other night I was laying in bed with my wife. We didn't put the TV on at all. I was not tired. And I was staring at the ceiling. I had a full-blown panic attack because I'm staring at a dark ceiling. And with this messed up eye of mine that I have, it throws, different types of darknesses or colors and everything.
Like shading.
Shading. It messes with my eyes.
Yeah.
So it sends me off into a panic attack. So I have to have the TV or some kind of low level light in the room, or I start freaking out. So challenge yourself to put a sleep timer on the TV. If you know you're not tired, if you're not going to do any of those three things that Mike is suggesting, which I think are all great suggestions. I really like the one about either donating it or selling it and look into a meal prep kind of service for you if you're having difficulty meal prepping on your own. It's a great suggestion. But if you don't want to do any of those things, challenge yourself to put a sleep timer on every single night. You know you're going to fall asleep at a certain time, but let's not keep the TV on for you to wake up in the middle of the night and, next thing you know, it's going to be like Mission Impossible on, and there's gunfire everywhere, and you're going to freak out because there's gunfire in your bedroom, wakes you up from a sleep, and next thing you know, you're in that fight or flight mode again because you don't know what the hell's going on. So let's concentrate on recovery.
Boom. So that's, again, you guys got a lot of hopeful takeaways at this point for not only how to shift your mindset, and again, resources are below to help dig into that, as well as these actionable steps in a scenario that I think a lot of people can relate to. Like, I don't know too many people that are like, I'm crushing it with sleep every night. So I think being able to have a strategy there to help do that, and then to see how we structured it, where it's process oriented, it's not necessarily outcome driven, because let's say the outcome isn't what you want. Now what, you're just going to stop? No, we try this process, then try a new process, and keep repeating that until you get the result.
Yeah. And different processes, those micro adjustments that we talked about. I hate using that, but there's, again, if one thing's not working, that doesn't mean get defeated and stop. If one thing's not working, let's try something else. And over time, we'll ultimately dial it in, and we'll figure out where we need to be with getting over these plateaus and hitting your goals. But let's not just give up within the first 1 or 2 weeks because we didn't get over that hump. We will get there. You just have to give time, invest the time in.
Boom. And that's a mic drop, I think, right there, Chuck. So I say we ended on that. What do you think?
Okay, drop the mic. Okay.
Not that one. That one's new and it's nice. Like, we'll get like just another one just so we just want to
drop it.
Do you remember at like weddings and stuff, they do the inflatable like guitars and mics and stuff? We get one of those.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, today we were working out in the gym, and there's this really crazy DJ that we've been watching lately, DJ Sick Kick. You got to check him out. He does all these crazy mixes, but he dropped the mic today, and Pina goes, "Where the hell did that come from? Who was the first person to drop the mic?" And I looked at her and I said, "It was me."
Right now.
Right here.
So yeah, Chuck, that's how we'll do it up. Again, thanks everybody. Stuff below not only the resources, we have our courses, we have all the great things going on. We have apparel. We now even have fitness equipment coming at you with like dumbbells. We have bands. We're looking to get some, maybe even shakers, some other really cool stuff, some more clothing and apparel. And then Chuck, they could follow you as well below, right?
You could, click on the thing, Core Camp Fit. You can follow Mike, Lifestyle of Fitness, Life of a Fighter. We're going to be putting out some good TikTok stuff. I'm not a big TikToker, but Mike's going to get me to do some TikTok stuff.
And post on Instagram more?
Post on Instagram more. I know I'm not a big poster. Sorry, guys. But I'll try to get a little better.
So much content. You got so much good knowledge.
There's so much content. I'm sorry. Ultimately, if you want a customized plan, hit us up. We've got our Pro Coach program. If you want the 28-day challenge or one of the 8 weeks to shred or the Booty Builder program, hit us up. Contact us on social media. Click the links down below. We got your back. Let's stay healthy, everybody. Let's walk the line.
And then, the high five.
High five you too.